All right, everyone, welcome to the next installation of our MEGUG 2025 Lunch and Learn series. We'll be talking about the basics of editing in QGIS today. My name is Matt Doobie. I am the chair of the main GIS user group, and I have with me on the line here Becky Schaffner and Mike White, who are also board members, and Mike will be giving our presentation today. Have a save the date information here. We have our annual conference being housed at the University of Maine at Farmington this year on November 14th. So there are registration is available for that already. Members of the organization should have seen that be emailed to them. So please, if you are interested in coming, please go ahead and register. Food's provided, and we will have presentations all day long. If you are interested in serving on the executive board for the main GIS user group, please shoot me an email by November 1st. We will have, I'll ask for some things in response to that email so that we can send out the ballots to members. So please try to find interest in that if it's something that is of interest to you. Before we get into our speaker today, I do want to acknowledge our sustaining members at the gold level: CAI Technologies, Esri, Main Technical Source, and Viewshed. Come on. Why are you not advancing? There we go. Our silver sustaining members: the Department of Agriculture, Conservation and Forestry from the state of Maine, Maine Department of Transportation, Maine Office of GIS, the Maine Public Utilities Commission, the Raymond H. Folger Library at the University of Maine, the Wheatland Geospatial Lab at the University of Maine. Our bronze sustaining members: Maine Geo Library, CGIS Solutions, Dirigo Spatial Systems Incorporated, the Greater Portland Council of Governments, GEI Consultants, St. George Consulting Group, Stantec, Stone Environmental, Wright Pierce, and the Kennebunk Port and Wells Water District. With that, I would like to introduce our speaker. We have a talk today in the basics of editing in QGIS. Our presenter will be Michael White from Dirigo Spatial Systems Incorporated. Mike gave a presentation a few months back about using QGIS in municipal applications, and he's going to follow up on that. So I will stop sharing and I will turn it over to Mike to give his presentation.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it. Just get mine shared here. So you should be able to see that. Just give me a moment here. Okay, here we go. So thank you, Matt and Becky, for helping get this started today. If you didn't see the first one of these QGIS lunch and learns, you can find that online and in YouTube. Just look for the main GIS user group, and you'll find our channel, and then you can look through there and find the introduction to GIS that I did, QGIS that I did back in, I think it was April, a while ago in any case. And this is a follow-on, and I intend to do more. This is for today. I'm going to do something different than last time. Last time I just talked kind of like what are the extent of things that QGIS can do, with a focus on municipal applications, but definitely applicable to any other kind of application. So just looking at the broad range of functionality of QGIS without getting into any details. And I promised at that time that the next one I would talk more specifically about editing. So that's what this one is about. So QGIS, if you're not familiar, is an open source shareware. I don't know how you'd categorize it, but it's basically free. It's used all over the world. It's I think, a pretty decent alternative to the GIS products and from ESRI. It doesn't do everything that every other software does, but what it does, in my opinion, having used GIS for many, many years, it does it pretty well. It's not without its warts, of course, but I find it to be a pretty stable platform, and the tools I think are pretty well thought out. And there's lots of plugins. There's lots of resources out there to get information. I use Chat GPT quite a bit, and I'll just ask Chat GPT a question about how do I do something in QGIS, and 95% of the time it gives me a pretty good answer. It will occasionally um dig up something from a very old version of QGIS. So if something doesn't feel right, that may be the reason why. But generally speaking, you can pretty easily find out, how to do some obscure thing in GIS. So what I'm going to do to demonstrate and talk about the editing in QGIS is I'll take you through um, a portion of a project that I'm actually currently working on, where converting existing tax maps to to a full GIS platform and create brand new tax map PDFs. In this particular case, it's the town of Waldoboro, and there are existing parcels that were converted back in 2011. And for the most part, they're pretty darn good, but they haven't been updated in 14 years. So there's quite a lot to be done. And it doesn't include all the other stuff other than the parcel polygons. So that's kind of the environment we're going to use. So I'm going to fire up QGIS here, take a moment to get started. And the first thing we're going to do is grab some data uh, from the Geo library. So I've already got a REST service set up for this, and it's here I put it under main vector data. If this doesn't work, I have a backup way to do this, but it looks like we're good. So I'm going to look down here, main parcels, organized towns. So I'm going to open that up, and I want the polygons out of that. And I'm going to add that with a filter because I only really want to see Waldoboro. So I'm going to create a filter to say town equals. Of course, I could just type this in, but I'm going to show you that QGIS has a lot of things to help you do these things. And I'm going to say town equals Waldoboro. And I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to let it spin and think. It's going to ask me about what coordinate system conversions we want to use. I'm just going to accept the default. And we'll close this, and there's Waldoboro. So this is the 2011 data, not yet updated. So the first thing I'm going to do to make this, obviously I can't edit these parcels because they're coming from REST service. So the first thing I need to do is I'm going to export them. So I'm going to right click on that layer and choose Save Features As. And I'm going to save them as a geo package. You could save them as a shape file. There's a whole bunch of different ways you can save it, but I'm going to use geo package. I've been using that quite a bit in the last 6 or 8 months and find that to be a pretty decent way to keep data locally. So I'm going to set the file name. It looks here like you can just type in a file name, but it actually needs the whole path. Uh, So I'm going to select the directory that I want, and I'm going to give it a name, parcel poly, and click save. And I have the opportunity here. I can change the coordinate system, which I'm going to do. I'm going to change that to main east. Wait, that's not the one I want. I want this one right here. 268.47. There's a bunch of different options, and sometimes I get into a little bit of trying to figure out which is the best coordinate system to use, but I'm going to use this 26847. Um, and you could see there's all the fields that are coming from the state data. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to take them all. Doesn't matter. And you can set the geometry type. I'm going to go ahead and say polygon. Um, it will pick it up as polygon anyway because it sees it's a polygon, but I don't know. Just out of habit, I tend to set that. I'm going to click OK. So now it's saved this out. It's giving me a little feedback here that it's saved. Get rid of that. And I can get rid of the one from the state. So I'm just going to click on it. I can either right click on it and find the remove layer, or there's several different options right here. So I can remove that layer and click OK. I just want to let you know that if you have a pertinent question in the middle of what I'm doing, feel free to ask or post a question. And because I do like having a kind of a dialogue if that works for you all. So the area that we're going to edit is down in here. And before I get going editing, I'm going to do a few things to kind of get organized here. So, before I do that, I want to add one other layer. Um, the USGS 3-dep, I'm going to connect to that and add that. That is a very, very useful layer along with the state orthos, but for the time being, I'm just going to use that. And I'm going to pull that down below the parcels. Now, obviously, the parcels are solid color, so I'm going to double click on that, and I'm going to click on this icon right here to get this the symbology, single symbol. I'm actually going to change that to categorized, and you'll see why in a bit here. Uh, might not make that much sense at the moment, but there is a type field, so I'm going to use that. And I'm going to click this classify button, which is going to give me the different types that are present in this data. So disputed, open, parcel, utility. Now I'm going to add two more. And I'm going to leave one of these as a catch-all for anything else. So one of them I'm going to add is water. So for any lakes and ponds. And I'm going to add cemetery. Oop, help if I could spell cemetery. And we'll just double click on that, change the color of the cemetery. Um, we'll make that kind of a purplish color. Maybe like that. Click OK. And click OK. Now the parcel one, I really do want to see that, be able to see through that. So I'm going to change that from solid to no brush. And that'll take care of that. We don't have any utilities or anything in here, so the rest of this probably it's not going to matter for this demo. So now I can see through and see my parcels. So now there's another thing I need to do before I start editing these parcels, or another thing I should do, which will make life easier. Remember we had all those fields? There's a ton of fields. Well, when we edit a parcel, QGIS, when configured, will automatically show you a form that you can use to set attributes, and they give you a lot of tools for customizing that form. So this tab right here, manage fields, I could go into an edit mode and remove fields. I'm just going to leave them alone. I don't really need to change anything there. But one thing I am going to do, I'm going to go to the next tab down, which is to set my form that I'm going to use where it's going to pop up so I can set my attributes. There's an auto generate, which means it's going to just show you everything, and we don't want everything because that's just going to be kind of too much. You can see over here is the show form on add feature. So you can set that as well if you need to, or you can turn it off, hide form on add feature. But I'm going to change this from auto generate to drag and drop designer. And you can see it added everything in. Well, I don't want all that stuff. So I'm going to remove a lot of this stuff. I'm going to select it. I used, click and held the shift key and click down here to grab a bunch of these. Get rid of those. I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to get rid of all those. So these are the ones that I want to be able to edit. And I can always, of course, go in later and add some back in, or maybe add some new fields that we don't have in the original data set. We can add fields to this copy that we made in the geo package. So if I click on these fields, you see there's a set of parameters or over here that I can set for these. And I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail, but down here and under general, there's an editable. You can tell it not to let you edit a field if you want. You reuse last entered value. I'm going to get to that in a moment. There's a bunch of different ways that you can do it. For a particular one, obviously the text edit's really the only one that makes any sense here, so that you can freely um, edit the map, block, and lot number. On a text edit, you can even do multi-line. We're not going to do that. You can set some constraints. It's not null. You can make it unique and so on. So, and there's also a default, which, yeah, I'm not going to go into, but that can be important on a text field. So I'm going to leave this one alone. Actually, I will go ahead and do that in case we get to that. I'm going to just do two single quotes, because when you create a new uh, parcel polygon and it shows uh, this form dialog, it's going to show that map, block, and lot string as null, N-U-L-L, all caps. So to set to type in, you've got to delete the N-U-L-L so that you can type the rest of it. I can't tell you how many times I've forgotten to do that and had N-U-L-L and then map R6 dash, whatever. So we want to set that to be a null string as opposed to a null value. Let's leave that one's good. And on the type, we're going to do something completely different. So all this stuff's the same. Editable is fine. We're going to use reuse last entered value. So if you set a value and then you do it once, and you go to edit a second feature or the same kind of feature, it will come up with that last value you entered. So if you're doing a lot of them, say you're editing some kind of feature and there's a scale value. You have scales for 1 inch equals 100-foot maps and 1 inch equals 500-foot maps and so on. Well, you don't want to type 500 every time you edit, add a feature. So you could set this to reuse the last entered so that once you've typed in 500, all subsequent uh, features that you add are going to automatically have 500 in that scale field until you change it. You can change it to 100 or 200 or whatever other scale you're going to start working on, and then it'll keep using that. But the big thing here is we're going to change this widget type. Like I said, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. But we're going to change it to classification. Now, remember I added in the I added it over here. I should go back and put the titles on, but I added a cemetery one. This blue one, I think, was the water one. I neglected to put the titles on. What it's going to do is use that list of different classified types in a pull down. So that I don't have to type it again. I can just select it every time. So we're going to use that. Not going to worry about the not null, unique, and so on. And not going to worry about the default value for the time being. So we're going to say, okay. Let me go back and fix this because that's going to bother me until we do fix it. Oops. Go back here. Oops. Got caps lock on. Yeah, that ought to fix it. There they are. So I can have different title from what the actual attribute is. You know, if it's some kind of coded attribute where it's like a number or something, I might want to give it an actual name so I know what it is. So remind me that code 27 is cemetery, for example. So if there's any questions, feel free to break in anytime or send questions through the chat. So I've added our data. I've set the uh, the symbology. I've set the attribute stuff. One thing I haven't done is setting labels. So let's go back in here. I'm just double click on that. And I'm going to go to the labels, change this to single labels. There's other things like this rule-based labels, um, which lets you do lots of interesting things with putting labels on maps or in your view. But I'm going to go to single labels. I'm going to change. I don't want town because that'd be not very useful because they'd all be the same town. What I want is map, block, and lot. I can change this. Let me make these bigger. So I'll make them 14 so we can all see them well. I'm going to make it bold. Let me change the color. Um, I'll make them orange. I don't know. So they show up nice. There are a lot of different things that you can do in here. Um, one thing I want to do is we're going to have it around the centroid in the visible part of the polygon, and I want it always to be inside the polygon. If you don't do that and you have like an L-shaped parcel or a C-shaped parcel, you could end up with the label actually in a different polygon. We don't want that. There's another thing that oh yeah, we won't get into that. There's a lot of different options here, and I could spend a lot of time just going on those things. Another thing I want to do is they have a way to control if there are overlapping labels. If you have never overlap, it will start dropping them so that you don't have overlapping labels. Uh, Overlaps if required and overlaps without penalty. I'm not really sure, to be honest, what the difference between these two is. I usually go without penalty. And we can also put label every part of multi-part features. So we click OK. And now you see our labels out here. That's not a particularly great color. Let me darken that up a little bit so we can see those if we want to. I'm just going to use this little slider here. We'll make them kind of a darker orange, almost a brown. There we go. That looks pretty good. Okay, so now we are ready to actually start editing for this demo. So the first thing I want to do, let me just discuss a few of the editing things you need to know to get going. Obviously, we're going to edit the parcels themselves, and any of these layers over here that are editable, obviously we can't edit the 3-depth elevation data, but any of our layers that we have access to the original data and can edit, you always toggle the editing for a particular layer. This is a bit different than Arc. The ArcGIS original ones, where if you have a directory with multiple shape files, you can edit. When you go to edit, you're actually opening all of them for editing. And sometimes I can give you some results that if you're not paying attention, you might accidentally delete something or change something you didn't intend to. Um, in QGIS, it is layer specific. It doesn't matter where they are. The data could be in Supabase with a bunch of other cloud-based post GIS layers. Doesn't matter if they're shape files, geo packages, all in the same directory. It's by the layer. So that's important to know. So to go into edit mode, we click on that, and now you see a whole bunch of different tools, and I'm definitely not going to try to go through all these tools at this time. Some of these are things that I've added as plugins. There's a whole thing in here to manage install plugins. There are just hundreds of plugins, do all kinds of things. We won't go into that today. You can see some of the ones that I use quite a bit are stay plugged in, so they're there and ready to use. Some of them manifest themselves as toolbars that you can use just as if they were in the basic product. So the main editing tools are right here in this one. So here's the add feature is going to be right here. In this case, it's add polygon. So if I click on that, um, I have different ways that I can add polygons. I show you, I'm not going to keep that. I hit the escape button to undo that, but I just wanted to show you can do that. There's a vertex tool so that you can edit vertices in all layers or current layer. That's important to know. If you have multiple layers that are all uh, in edit mode and they have coincident vertices, you can edit those vertices all at once. And sometimes if you're not paying attention and you don't realize that you've got it set that way, you might delete something you don't really intend to. The current layer is going to edit um, only the ones of whatever you've got selected over here. And again, QGIS works on the basis of a single layer generally. So whatever I have selected over here is going to be the target of what I'm doing. So you can see as I pan around, it's showing me all the vertices of these things. So I'm going to do a couple things. Over here, there's a split polygon, um, bunch of different ways you can cut and break things up and so on. Copy, move and copy features. Another palette over here that we definitely are going to need is this enable snapping. And I'll talk a little bit about this because it's important. You can change it to snap to all layers or the active layer, and there's other options I don't have time to go into, but generally I have it on all layers, but occasionally I will change it to just the active layer if I don't want it to get something else and edit something else at the same time as the one I'm trying to edit. It comes up by default as just vertex. I want to also do segment. For this demonstration, I'm just going to be editing on the outlines of these. And there's various other options that we won't get into this time. This is just a tolerance over here. This button right here is very important, especially when you're doing a layer that's a topological fabric, if you will, to enable topological editing. So if I move a vertex for R11-18B, it's going to move the same vertex for 18C and 18. And I can demonstrate that. I'm going to click on that and I'm just going to move it just like that. So I don't have to worry about fixing any of my vertices. If that thing is on and I cut a parcel, it's going to insert vertices in any adjoining polygon so that they all have the same matching vertices. I'm going to undo that. So Control Z. Oh, actually, this is a good place to demonstrate one thing I was going to say. If you look here, we have a save button, which you can also do by Control E. I'm working on a Mac, so it's the Command E, but same idea in Windows. Uh, there's also this button, which gives me some different options for rolling back and saving and stuff. I'm not going to save, but I am going to roll back that edit because I don't really want to do that. I was just demonstrating. So um, I tend to save frequently. Uh, Pretty much after every couple little edits, I'll do Command E to save. Sometimes I'll wait longer to make sure that I've got my edit the way I want it before I do the Command E, because sometimes I need to roll back, either using that rollback or using Control Z, so that I can get back to a place where I can uh, start my edits again or change how I was doing it. So that snapping is very important. This is another very important one. This button lets you snap on intersections. So if you have a couple features, I only have the one layer, so I can't really demonstrate it just yet. But if I had a line feature, I could, and let's say there's a line that crosses over here between these two parcels, kind of like this. I can snap to that apparent intersection between the line and the edge of this polygon. And that's very handy. There's other things you can digitize with an offset, which is kind of nice. Um, this self-snapping can be pretty handy as you create your uh, editing. I don't know how to describe it. The um, um, kind of like the draft of what you're putting in. You can actually snap to that. I didn't describe that very well, but if it comes up, I'll show you what I'm talking about. But it can be very handy. The other thing I want to show you is I've turned on this advanced digitizing, and I want to turn that on because this will let me do things like set a specific distance. You can't see it here, but I can make my drawing parallel to an existing feature or perpendicular and so on. There's also a tool here for doing a two-point intersection. That's very handy when you're editing parcels. So I'm going to use the select features tool here um, to select a couple parcels and actually merge them. And the parcel I'm going to do, this is an actual a true edit here. Um, I'm going to turn off the 3-depth for the moment. I'm going to select these two parcels because in the current mapping, this parcel got merged into or back into 1117. So I'm going to select those two, and I'm going to go here to the merge selected features, and I get this dialog. Now, I got to pan over here. You can see it lists the input polygons first, and then the one that says merge at the bottom is what it will be. And uh, obviously, I wanted this to go back into 17, not 17A. So the way I can handle that, if I click on this, you can see, okay, there's 17. That's what I want. And I can click on this button, take attributes from selected feature. Now you notice it dropped the A over here. I could actually even change that. I could make that 17B if I wanted to. Whatever I have in here is what it's going to be. Let me go back here and make it 17, just 17. And we're going to click OK, and it's gone, just like that. So this is a case in point. I'm happy with that edit. I'm going to click on this or do Control E. And to deselect any, I don't want this selected going forward. So easiest way to deselect, click on this button right here, and that's done. As simple as that. Now, I want to show you a moment here. Hopefully you can all see this. Here's the original tax map. You can see uh, there's a 30, I think that was a 33-foot right of way there, and another one up here. So we're gonna mimic those. Anyway, I'll show you how to do that. So watch the time so I don't run over. And I'm going to be using some of these tools. But to do this, I need to make a layer to hold this data. So the way I'm going to do that, there's a button up here, new shapefile layer. Um, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. I wanted to split a parcel as well. So I'm just going to demonstrate that over here. Sorry, I got out of my order that I was going to do things in. So to split a parcel, it turns out that that this line is not in the correct place. It was changed. I'm just going to mimic it. I'm not going to try to make it exact, but I'm going to click out here, and you can see when I get close to that, I can snap to the line, or I can snap to that vertex. I want to snap right to that vertex, and I can either go beyond, or I can click exactly, or I can snap to a particular vertex. I'm just going to snap here and go beyond, and I'm going to right click, and it's going to make that cut. Again, I can undo that. I'll just leave that alone for now. And let's go back. Now that I'm back on track, we'll go back over here. So I didn't want to forget that one. Kind of important. I'll save that. So now I'm going to create a line layer to hold the right-of-way lines. So I'm going to click on this button here in the upper left. It's hard to see maybe, but there's a little star by that. And this creates a layer. And I'm going to create this new layer. And I'm going to call it MISC line. If you hadn't noticed, I did parcel poly. Now I'm doing MISC line, short for miscellaneous line. Uh, I learned a long time ago doing GIS that it's really helpful to put some basic information as to what your layer is in the name, so that if you have miscellaneous, you know that's miscellaneous lines, as opposed to miscellaneous polygons or points, features, or what have you. So I'm going to say OK. I'll save that. Geometry type, I'm going to make that a line string. It's already set to main east, which is great. I do need a type, so I'm going to say L type, or just line type, and length, we'll make that 24. And we're going to add that to the fields list. Okay. And that should be it. I'm going to click OK. Now it's making the shape file by default, but that's fine. nice to actually to show you that it'll work on, this works on shape files just as well as geo packages and what have you. So I can go into edit mode on this. So now I have both of these in edit mode, and I can create a miscellaneous line just like that. Oh, I was still in the split mode. So it told me that, gave me an error message, said you're in split mode. I didn't really want to be that. I want to add a line feature. So we'll just do a line out here. And here's that null I was talking about. I don't care about the ID. So I could put in here ROW. So I'm going to change this, go in the properties and change that. So I don't care about labels, but I do care about the symbology. So categorized, and I'm going to classify. Oh, I forgot to set which field I'm talking about. So I want to categorize by the L type. Let's do classify again. And there's my right of way. So let's make this look like a right of way symbol. So I'm going to click on here. And symbology is pretty cool in QGIS. You can stack and layer all different kinds of things together to make some really complex symbols. We're going to keep it pretty simple here. I'm going to change this from solid line to dashed line. I'm going to fatten that up a little bit. I'll make it 0.8 millimeters. Uh, you can do it in terms of points, pixels, millimeters, map units, inches, what have you. Um, I just leave it at millimeters. And we'll say, okay. Now, see, we have that line that we made um, in that line style. One other thing I want to do is, again, set this, change this to drag and drop. I'm going to get rid of the ID. I don't care about that. And the L type, I want to reuse the last entered value like we did before. And text edit's fine. Everything else is fine. So now when I create a new one, I right click, it comes up automatically ROW because that's the last thing I put in the previous time, ROW. Now let's make something else. And we'll call this, let's call this stream. Okay, I didn't make a symbol for it, but that's okay. We can obviously make a line symbol for it. And I'm putting in a second one, and you see it comes up stream. So that makes it a lot faster to edit these things. I'm going to delete these now. I'm going to select them with the feature selection cursor. And I'm just going to hit the delete key, or I could use this trash can will also let me get rid of those. Save that again. Okay, so now we're going to make a line 33 feet parallel to this. And there's a couple different ways to do it. I'm going to show you the very basic way to do this. When you have nice, simple straight lines like this, it works really well. So I'm going to go into add feature, and I'm going to digitize with segment. And I want to go 33 feet parallel to this. And I know I showed you there's another tool here to do that, but I'm not going to use that this time because I want to just show you sort of the real basic ways to do things. So I'm going to start here because I want to go 33 feet out. And I could eyeball it, but sometimes it's kind of hard to eyeball a perpendicular distance. So I'm going to go over here and click on this button right here, perpendicular. And there is a key shortcut for that. And I zoom in, let me get over here. I zoom in. I want to do a distance, so I'm going to type D. And if you notice up here, watch this when I type in D. Type in D, and I'm going to say 33. And then I'm going to hit the return. And there's my point right there. So this is 33 feet perpendicular to this line over here. So I'm going to go here. I'm just clicking to confirm that that's what I want. Now I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. and pan over. Now I want to go parallel to the original line. And here we go. And it's going to let me snap to that boundary over here. It does, I don't really care to go beyond that. I'm going to right click, and in this case, we don't want stream, we want ROW. Click OK. So there's my right of way, except I need to fix up this end of it. So to do that, I'm going to use the vertex edit tool, and I'm going to put my cursor over the end here, and you see there's a plus sign. If I click on that plus sign, uh, I can actually extend it. Yeah, it's trying to catch up with me. I'm going to undo that. Let's do that again. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to hit the return or the delete key on my keyboard. You notice this one turned blue. That's because that's the next vertex in the order, and it's anticipating I might want to delete that one as well, which is the case. So I'm going to click, type the delete key, and there it is. Now, I do want to move this out so it intersects the road edge here. So I can just click on that and just snap it over here. And there's our line. So the next one we want to do, I'm just checking the time. We're doing good on time. There is a road that comes in here and wraps around. And this is where that 3-dep is going to come in handy because I can actually see where that road is. One thing I found, and I don't know if it's just my computer or the Mac version of QGIS. I don't know if Windows does this or not, but occasionally I have problems, especially with like the state ortho photos, that REST service. If that doesn't respond in a reasonable amount of time, QGIS will just sit and spin waiting forever for it. And you may get into the case where you're forced um, to quit the program to get out of that. I don't know why they have not fixed that, but it's usually not a big deal. The buttons up here will still be responsive, even though it's trying to load the imagery that it can't load. Just go ahead and save everything, turn off your editing, save your project, and you'll be fine. You can force quit, reopen it, and you'll be right back where you were. So here's my road that I want to do, and I can see it pretty well. I'm going to make a new vector layer. I'm going to make a construction line layer so that I always make a construction line layer. So this is just sort of a place to kind of draft stuff out, and then use it to snap when you do other editing, typically. So this is going to be a line string. I don't care about the fields. It really doesn't make any difference. So now I'm gonna edit that, and I'm gonna add a center line. Um, I've got the snapping on. I can turn the snapping on and off with the S key. So S as in Stephen. I can turn it on, turn it off. See, now it's not snapping. But I do want to snap here. It's trying to snap to that vertex, of course, but I want to go here. So I just zoomed in a little bit more so I can see that. And we're gonna get the imagery up. And I can use straight line segments, or I can digitize with a curve. For time's sake, I'm just gonna go ahead and use straight line segments and just do a bunch of segments around the curve here and come in the other way. We won't go the whole way because I'm kind of running low on time now. So I want to leave a little time for any questions. I'm going to turn the snapping off because it keeps trying to snap to that corner. And that's probably good enough. Now I'm going to right click. I don't care about the ID. I could have gone in and changed the form, but I'm not going to bother. Click OK. So now I have a construction line. I'm going to change the color of that so we can see it a little bit better. And we'll make that a brighter pink color. Maybe a little bit more pinky. There we go. And hope you can see that. I didn't fatten it up. I can make it a lot wider if need be. But now what I want to do is show you a basic uh, uh, geometry tool to buffer that. So first thing I'm going to do, make sure I save that. I'm going to stop editing on that layer. I'm going to select that feature so you can see the whole thing is selected. And I'm going to go up here to vector, geoprocessing tools, and you can see there's lots of different tools up in here. Buffering, clipping, dissolving, all the usual things you'd expect, creating centroids, um, taking polygons, making line work, simplification, all sorts of stuff. One thing you may want to do is check validity. That'll check the validity of the geometry. There's also a check geometries up here. I tend to use this one more. Anyway, so there's a whole bunch of different things that you can use up here, but we're going to do buffer. And I got to drag the dialog over so you can see it. And we are going to use the construction line. I only want that one selected feature. Now, I know I only have one feature in that layer so far, so it wouldn't make any difference. But generally speaking, my construction lines, I probably have hundreds of them in there, and I just want the one that I've selected. I don't want to buffer everything. So you can see here, distance, we're going to make that 33 feet, which is 16.5 feet on either side. We're going to change that to feet. Segments, I tend to boost that up. That's the number of segments around the end. I want a round end cap. I can also make a flat one or a square one, depending on what we're trying to do. Round's fine. Join style, so if it's joining them, whether it's round, miter, or bevel, we'll just leave it round for now. Miter limit, I never change that. And dissolve result. If you had more than one center line, let's say the road split in a couple places, and so it kind of looked like a branched out, you could dissolve the buffers all so that you have one set of buffers and you don't have to clean up the intersections. Now, an important thing about QGIS, almost all of these tools um, create, you can either set it to save to a specific layer. So you could save it to a shape file or a geo package or what have you. Or you can let it create a temporary layer. And that's what I usually do. And this button right here, open output file after running the algorithm. So when I run this, it's going to create a layer. Oh, I spelled that wrong. It's going to create a layer over here that's just in memory. It's not actually saved out anywhere. And I'm going to show you how we then save it. So I'm going to run, and there's my buffer. So now I want to take this buffer. I just selected it, by the way, because it put it on top. I can select it. And I want to put that in the miscellaneous lines as a right of way. So I'm going to go copy that. And there's a copy features. I can remove this layer. Well, no, I'm going to show you that. Never mind. But I want to put it in the miscellaneous line. And I'm going to paste that. Let me turn that off and make sure everything's deselected. So there's my proposed road that I'm working on. So now I'm going to edit that. And this button right here gives you the form dialog. And this thing will work on more than one feature at a time. So if you've got a whole bunch of them selected, you could do them all at once. I'm going to say ROW, click OK. And there we are. And now I can use these other tools um, to clip the ends of this off, for example. So I cut that right here at the road. I'm going to select that piece and get rid of it. Uh, let's turn off the construction line. Likewise, I can do similar things over on the other end. I'm going to save that. Also save those. And the one thing I said I was going to show you as well is on a temporary layer, and you can tell it's temporary because it has this, I don't know what it's supposed to be, but it's this funny little symbol over here on the right. It creates that temporary scratch layer, they call it. And I can go export and save those features. So I can save it as geo package. I'll just call it buffers. Oh, again, I've got to tell it where I want it. So we want that editing demo buffers, save, and I can change stuff. I don't have to uh, output the attributes. I could actually even change the geometry type. I can change the coordinate system at this time. So I could set it to UTM if I wanted to. I'm going to leave it this way and click OK. And it adds it back in here. And I typed an A in there accidentally. I can get rid of this one if I wanted to. Anyway, so that's the basics of what I wanted to show you today. And we are quickly running out of time. So I'd be willing to take a few questions if anybody has any.
All right, thank you, Mike. We have a few questions that have been posted. Looks like two of them are contextual. One is just a alert to save your project. So I think that's just what it was. The first one was there was a QGIS interest group that was discussed coming out of the previous demonstration you gave. Has that been created yet or not? I'm unsure of that, but I don't know if Mike, either you or Becky, knows that.
So we had an issue with the first lunch and learn we did on this, that we asked that question of people and we got responses to that, but I don't think we were able to capture who responded. So I think what we have to do going forward is just go ahead and start setting something up and publicize that through our MEGUG mailing emails and get people to sign up that way somehow. So that's something that we as a board can discuss and get that going, because I think that would be very useful to have that little special interest group going.
So yeah, that first poll disappeared from the recording of the meeting, unfortunately, but I did do a follow-up poll, and I do have a list of some people who are interested. But when I send out the follow-up poll for this meeting, I'll include another invitation for people to send in their
Yeah, sounds
contact
good.
info. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, so the next one we have, there was a point about 20 minutes ago when you saved something, you weren't prompted for a name and location. I imagine that that's because you were editing something that already existed, but I just wanted to know if you could possibly confirm that.
Yeah, I believe that's the case. If I was saving something to the parcel polys or miscellaneous line, which I had already created. So I believe that that's the case. If I would have had to have done an export to copy the whole layer, and when I do that, it's going to make me select a location and a name for it.
I know that's the same in Arc. In Arc, if you're working on editing a file that you have and you go to save it, it doesn't require you to save it to another place. It saves it native to the file that you're actually working on at that moment.
Right.
I'd assume that this is consistent.
It is, but it's a little bit funny in that when you do that export, this is going to come up blank. It would be nice if it came up with the same path that you're already in,
Mm-hmm.
so that you were already kind of ready to go and you could just add the name. It doesn't do that. Like I said, it's like any program that's got its little quirks and things that you and I might do differently. Uh, and I get caught by that at times. I'll type something in. I've got a cat who's decided to make her presence known. So that's that noise you hear in the background. But it would be nice to have that in there so that you don't forget, like I do sometimes, and just start typing a name and thinking it's going to do it. It's going to complain that I didn't give it a location.
Yeah. All right. So the next question we have, wondering if you could discuss how to create a feature class within QGIS as well as using Esri formatted data, such as the file geodatabase in Q.
So I mentioned this in the first lunch and learn that I did, that QGIS can read data from the file geodatabase format, but it cannot write. And I think that's due to some issues surrounding intellectual property or something like that. So the first thing I do when I get a file geodatabase is I just export the layers that I'm going to edit. And then I will use either FME or ArcGIS to put them back into that file geodatabase, or maybe I'm creating a new file geodatabase, but I'll use those other tools to do that. I
All
don't know
right.
if I answered that question well enough, but it can do everything with a shapefile, but a shapefile has essentially become an open format at this point, actually some time ago. So it can do everything, edit, copy, make, create, whatever, but not so with the file geodatabase format. It can read them, but it can't natively write to them.
All right, and we have one more question in the Q&A section right now, which is why is this still an untitled project? And I would assume that that's just because the project itself hasn't been saved.
That is correct. This button right here will save the project, and I'll give a chance to type in here. This does remember where the last place I was, so I'll put demo, click save, and now it's saved. And you can see the name up there at the top. So um, I do, as I'm working around in a town, you get thousands of parcels, and I'm working map sheet by map sheet as I do this stuff. I will save the project periodically so that the next time I come back in, I'm sure that I'll come back in at the same location. And it's also important because if you change the symbology and all the properties of these layers over here, it's important to save those as well with that save project button, so that you don't have to go back in and add these different classifications in.
All right,
Anything
folks,
else?
do we have any other questions? See no open questions in the Q&A. If you have questions, Mike, do you mind if people contact you?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay.
Can you show my email address, or do you want me to?
Go ahead and show it yourself there. It should be on your
That.
oh, you didn't have it.
Oh, I did not actually. Boy, that's something. I didn't put it in there. But it is mwhite, MWHITE, at dirigospatial.com.
We can put that in the post meeting
Okay,
announcement.
appreciate it. That'd be great. And you're welcome to contact me through that, or my phone number, 631-8621. Either way is fine. I'm happy to help. Uh, you know, I would like to see more people using QGIS, and especially, I deal a lot with small towns that can't afford to have, more expensive software. They can get QGIS for free. You can download it, install it, and there's not really much of anything to configure. You can get going in, 10 minutes. Um, and again, best part, it's free and it's pretty stable and a great set of tools.
Also works on a Mac, which is sometimes a complication for other products.
Yes, yeah. In my case, it's very helpful because I don't have to have Parallels or Boot Camp or something installed so that I can run Windows just so that I can run Arc or other software.
All right, so if there are no other questions, we've hit the end of our session today. If you have suggestions for future topics for Lunch and Learns, please let us know. We've got a couple that we were actually discussing behind the scenes as this was going on. But if you're interested in giving one of these sessions for the GIS user group, please also let us know, and hopefully we see some of you at our our annual meeting on November 14th at the University of Maine at Farmington.
Great. Thank you to all the participants.